Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I'm your host today, Brent Bowers, the landman, and I was just inspired to make this podcast. So one of our land sharks who I coach, I work with him one-on-one. He really inspired me to create this. This guy, he's 24 years old. He's not even 25 years old yet. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's still in college. Basically, he is scrimping and saving and earning to be able to do real estate. He's actually about to do his first land deal, and he's gonna make like $10,000 on this land deal. But there's some things that he did to sacrifices, is what I called them, in order to fund his real estate coaching, fund his marketing costs for a couple months, and he was able to get a land deal. But let me tell you what he did. He actually has an apartment that has 2 other bedrooms. So there's 3 total. And he rented these rooms out. Basically, his mortgage payment was covered, his light bill was covered, his water bill was covered, and his gas bill was covered by renting these 2 other rooms. It really inspired me. It got me thinking when I was in college, I was renting out rooms as well in the house. Well, actually, let me back up a minute. So the Army pulled me out of Afghanistan in 2013 and sent me to college. So I ended up getting a house. Basically, I found this dude on Craigslist. He was renting out a room. You know, I did the background checks and all that. Guys, you want to be really careful if you're either renting out your rooms or renting your rooms from someone else. Well, this guy worked for the Harris Corporation. So you had to be like, have a top secret clearance, all these things. And I ended up renting a room from him for a few months. This guy was making bank off of me. I didn't really like the situation. It was like a stinky house. He had a cat. I'm not down with cats. And I was like the one cleaning the litter box. But long story short, I decided that I was going to do this myself. So I rented an apartment for a couple months, and then I actually ended up getting a roommate for that. He was a Delta Airlines pilot. So this guy was paying me every month, and it basically covered over half the rent. And while I was in this apartment, I put in to buy a house. I actually made an offer on a bank-owned foreclosure. A real estate owned is what they called it. And this house was some lipstick, basically. It needed carpet, it needed flooring, it needed a really good cleaning. It needed like a water heater and all the appliances. So I got my VA loan to cover all of it. It was a 3-bedroom house, almost 2,000 square foot. And I already had the tenants lined up because this guy was going to come with me from the apartment to the new house, and I just needed to get another tenant. While I was in the process of buying this house, I lined up the tenants. I put all new paint, carpet, appliances. I did all these things, and it was a beautiful house. And I ended up having 2 roommates that paid me rent every single month. And these guys were quiet. Like, one of them was never home because he was a pilot, and the other guy actually had a Bitcoin mining operation. So he had a huge warehouse that he was always at. And honestly, I wish I would have taken the Bitcoin as rent for all those years. That's a whole nother podcast. By the way, he's retired now. All I'm getting at is this allowed me to refinance this house. I pulled out a cash out refi. I bought another rental property, and it allowed me a runway. By not having a mortgage payment, by not having to pay the utilities, by not having to pay the internet, all this stuff was paid for. And oh, by the way, I kept the master suite with my own personal bathroom. So I was actually making like $150 a month every single month by living at this house. I owned it, so I was building equity. I pulled that $55,000 equity that I had, and I bought another rental property. And this is how, build 4 houses, and then the 5th one is a hotel. This is Monopoly at its finest, guys. You want to start out, maybe you don't have the credit, maybe you don't have the cash to buy your first property, but you can always sublet the rooms that you have. Now they call it house hacking or pad splitting. I don't care what you want to call it, but if you rent out the rooms, oh, by the way, I also rented out the garage. We rented out the garage to this guy that had super sweet Porsche, and all he wanted was a place to put it in the garage. We were still able to use the garage. We gave him his own clicker to get in and out of it, and the garage door was separate from the house, so there's no way he could have ever came in the house. All these little things. So technically I had 3 tenants while I was living there, and I still had my stuff in the garage too. So it was a nice garage, but that's 3 different tenants that were renting from us. I see some people rent out their driveway. I still had room in the yard. I could have allowed people to put boats because we were like a mile from the river. People are always needing places to store things, rent things like boat and RV storage, all these little things that you can make extra money to fund your real estate business. That's how this guy, I'm not going to say his name, that's how he was able to start his coaching, to start his marketing. So there's a shortage in your budget or money's tight, Maybe you have a garage. Maybe you have an extra room or 2 or 3 or a whole entire basement that you could put a separate entrance on and house hack your house or pad split your house. So there's really no reason to not get started in real estate if you see these other opportunities. And we do the same thing with land. You know, there's been parcels of land where we sell the mineral right and then we rent out the land or we lease out the land to cattle or growing operations. There's so many different ways to make money in real estate. This podcast was inspired today to talk about just house hacking and ways you can bring in money with either your current living situation. Maybe you're renting an apartment, or maybe you own your own home and you're like looking for a way to get started in real estate, but you don't quite have the cash. These are ways to earn it. I'm not saying do this forever. I'm not saying rent out your rooms forever. Maybe you're married, maybe you have kids. That might be a little tough situation, but maybe you have like a she shed out back or a storage unit, a shed or something that you can rent to someone else and start collecting income. There's so many ways to make money and get started in real estate. So I hope this podcast was the inspiration you needed. And let me just tell you, by that one property, I bought that second property in Melbourne, Florida as well with the cash from that house. Well, I completely had no debt whatsoever on that house. So I ended up taking out a line of credit and I bought a triplex, a 3-unit apartment basically in Colorado Springs. And that property it just kept building and building and building and getting momentum. These things really compound on themselves. And oh, by the way, I was collecting rents by renting out these properties. I was depreciating these houses, these buildings, and saving money on my federal taxes. My tenants were paying down the mortgages, all these things. And I've sold several of these properties since then, and I've taken that money and bought more real estate with them. So this money continues to make more money. So guys, this is how you can become a multi-millionaire in less than 10 years by starting today. I want you to start today. I want you to take action from hearing this podcast. And if you need help, maybe you want to run your situation by me, I want you to go to wholesalinginc.com/land and schedule a call. Book a call with me. I reach out to every single one of those applications. You'll probably also hear from Derek. He's part of our Wholesaling Inc. team. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Just to do a quick recap, guys, there's so many ways to make money. There's so many ways to get started in real estate. You just got to pick the path and just be determined, have your why, and start taking action today. It's little time blocks of 20 minutes a day, every single day, 6 days a week. It's amazing what you can do in 10 years. We often overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we so much underestimate what we can do in a decade. And I heard Tony Robbins say this back in like 2018 at a business mastery seminar. Well, now that I've been running for 10 years, full-time actually since 2018, so I'm not even at 10 years full-time. It is absolutely amazing what you can accomplish in less than 10 years. So guys, take action today. I hope this inspires you, but don't just be inspired, actually take action. God bless, guys. Until the next time.